what they feared the most, is now standing in front of them. I emerge from the shadows, my form coalescing from the darkness itself. My eyes, ancient, knowing, merciless, lock onto yours. The temperature drops. Your breath catches. Good. You should feel this weight. You should feel the gravity of this moment. Because what I'm about to reveal to you will shatter every comfortable lie you've been clinging to. Look at me. No, truly look. What do you see standing before you? Do you see a monster? A demon? The embodiment of everything you were taught to fear? Perhaps. But let me tell you what I see when I look at you. And more importantly, what they see when they look at you now. I see their nightmare made flesh. I see the thing that keeps them awake at 3 a.m. I see the force they spent years trying to suppress, control, diminish, and destroy. I see what they feared the most. And it's now standing in front of them. It's standing where you're standing. It's looking out through your eyes. It's speaking with your voice. It's moving through the world with your hands. You are what they fear. Let that sink in. Not what you might become. Not what you could be someday if you work really hard and believe in yourself. No, right now in this moment, as you are the manifestation of their deepest terror. And the beautiful, terrible irony, they created you. Every attempt to break you, every effort to silence you, every scheme to make you smaller, all of it was them, unknowingly, forging the very weapon that would be turned against you. Do you remember when you were softer? When you believed in fairness and justice, in the fundamental goodness of people and systems? Do you remember when you played by their rules, thinking that compliance would earn you safety? That obedience would grant you belonging? Of course you do. That version of you still haunts you sometimes, doesn't it? That naive, hopeful creature who thought the world operated on merit and kindness. They loved that version of you. They could control it. They could predict it. They could use it and discard it without consequence. That version of you was no threat at all. That version of you was exactly what they wanted, compliant, manageable, ultimately disposable. But then something happened, didn't it? Maybe it was a single moment of betrayal so profound it cracked your foundation. Maybe it was a slow accumulation of small cruelties that finally reached critical mass. Maybe it was watching someone you loved get destroyed by the very systems you trusted. Whatever it was, something inside you died. Or, more accurately, something inside you stopped pretending to be dead. And in that moment, in that space where innocence used to live, something else moved in. Something older. Something harder. Something that had always been there, buried beneath layers of socialization and fear, waiting for permission to emerge. Not evil, let's be clear about that. But not good either. Not in a way they define goodness. Something beyond their moral categories. Something primal. Something true. That's when you became dangerous. That's when you became what they fear. Because a person who still believes in the system can be controlled by threatening to remove them from it. But a person who has seen through the illusion, a person who has realized that the game is rigged, the rules are arbitrary, and the promised rewards are lies, that person is ungovernable. That person is a threat to every structure built on compliance and fear. You stop needing their approval. That was the first sign they were losing control. You stopped seeking validation from institutions that had proven themselves hollow. You stopped caring about the opinions of people who had demonstrated their irrelevance. And with each thing you stopped needing from them, you became exponentially more powerful. And exponentially more terrifying to them. They tried to shame you back into lying. They called you bitter, angry, cynical, dark. They pathologized your awakening, trying to convince you that seeing reality clearly was a sickness rather than clarity. They gathered around you with concerned faces, telling you that you changed, that you weren't yourself anymore, that they were worried about you. What they meant was, come back to the prison, come back to sleep, come back to being controllable. But you didn't, did you? You couldn't, even if you wanted to. Because once you've seen the mechanisms of control, once you've glimpsed the truth behind the theater, there's no unseeing it. There's no going back to comfortable ignorance. The door behind you is closed and locked, and the only way is forward, into deeper truth, greater power, more complete liberation from their systems of manipulation. And so you transform, not overnight, not in some dramatic moment of revelation, though there were those too, but gradually, cell by cell, thought by thought, decision by decision. You became harder where they needed you soft. You became skeptical where they required faith. You became selfish where they demanded sacrifice. You became ruthless where they expected mercy. Each of these transformations was necessary. Each was a deliberate choice to prioritize your survival and sovereignty over their comfort and control. And each one made you more of what they feared. Let me tell you what they fear most about you now. It's not your anger. Anger is predictable, manageable, easily redirected, or exhausted. It's not your intelligence. Intelligence can be flattered, corrupted, or simply overwhelmed with complexity and confusion. It's not even your strength. Strength can be matched, outnumbered, or weighted out. What they fear is your independence, your complete and total refusal to need anything from their systems, your ability to look at their threats and see nothing threatening, your capacity to hear their promises and feel nothing but contempt, your willingness to walk away from everything they told you to value and not just survive but thrive in the wilderness beyond their walls. You have become self-sufficient in ways that terrify them. Not just economically, though that's part of it, but psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. You have built within yourself a fortress that doesn't require their validation to stand. You have discovered sources of meaning and purpose that exist entirely outside their approved narratives. You have learned to generate your own sense of worth, your own definitions of success, your own criteria for what constitutes a life well lived. This is heresy to them. This is rebellion at the deepest possible level, because their entire power structure depends on maintaining dependency. They need you to need them. They need you to believe that without their institutions, their approval, their frameworks, you would be lost, purposeless, ultimately helpless. And you've proven them wrong simply by existing outside their paradigm and not only surviving, but becoming more powerful, more focused, more dangerous with each passing day. Look at yourself now. Really look. Not with the eyes of who you used to be, but with clear sight. You are harder than you were, more calculating, more willing to do what needs to be done without the paralysis of excessive conscience, more capable of cold assessment and ruthless action. You have become efficient in ways that would have horrified your former self. Is this darkness? Yes. Is this corruption? Perhaps by their standards, but by the only standard that matters. Reality itself. This is evolution. This is adaptation. This is survival in a world that showed you its true face and forced you to develop your own true face in response. You are what they feared because you are what they cannot control, cannot predict, cannot integrate back into their systems. You are the living proof that their power is not absolute, that their narratives are not inevitable, that their control is maintained only through consent and compliance. And you have withdrawn both. Every time you make a decision based on your own judgment rather than their rules, you demonstrate their impotence. Every time you succeed by metrics they didn't approve, you expose their irrelevance. Every time you find meaning in places they declared meaningless, you reveal their narratives as the empty constructions they are. This is why they watch you with barely concealed anxiety. This is why they probe and test, trying to find some lever that still moves you, some button that still works. They're searching for the control mechanism that will bring you back into line. But those mechanisms were dismantled long ago, weren't they? Piece by piece. You identified every form of control they had over you and systematically removed it. You stopped caring about reputation. There goes their ability to shame you into compliance. You stopped needing social approval. There goes their ability to ostracize you into submission. You stopped believing in their hierarchies. There goes their ability to motivate you with status and position. You stop trusting their institutions. There goes their ability to threaten you with systemic consequences. What remains? What power do they have over someone who has methodically dismantled every avenue of control? None. And that's what makes you what they feared most. But here's the twist they never saw coming. The development that terrifies them even more than your independence. You're not alone. Oh, they thought you were. They thought by pushing you out, by making you unacceptable, by isolating you from their approved communities, they were neutralizing a threat. They thought a lone rebel was manageable. They didn't realize that there are others like you, thousands, millions, all going through similar transformations, all arriving at similar conclusions, all becoming similarly ungovernable. And while you've been evolving in your isolation, you've also been connecting, not in their approved spaces, not under their supervision, but in the shadows, in the margins, in the places they don't monitor because they don't believe anything real happens there. You are not the lone wolf they tried to create. You are the vanguard of something larger. You are the prototype, the proof of concept, the demonstration that it's possible to live outside their control and not just survive but thrive. And others are watching. Others are learning. Others are beginning their own transformations, inspired by the fact that you exist at all. This is what truly terrifies them. Not one independent mind, that's an aberration, an anomaly, a problem to be solved. But a movement of independent minds, a growing population of ungovernable individuals who have seen through the illusions and chosen sovereignty over security, that's existential threat. That's the collapse of their entire paradigm. And you, yes, you, standing here absorbing these words, you are the manifestation of that threat. You are what happens when their control fails. You are the answer to the question they never wanted asked. What if we just stopped playing their game? I pause, letting the silence speak for a moment. The weight of revelation hangs in the air between us. Your eyes have changed. There's a recognition there now, a dangerous acknowledgement of what you become. They see you now, and they see the failure. They see you, and they see the beginning of their end. They see you, and they remember every warning they ignored, every complaint they dismissed, every person they underestimated and discarded. You are the ghost of every choice they made that prioritized short-term control over long-term wisdom. And the most beautiful part, you didn't even need to do anything yet. You didn't need to attack their systems or tear down their institutions. You simply became yourself, your true, ungoverned, sovereign self. And that alone was enough to expose them as emperors with no clothes, as structures with no foundation, as power with no legitimacy. Your mere existence is revolutionary. Your simple refusal to comply is rebellion. Your basic insistence on living by your own values and your own vision is enough to shake their foundations. This is the power of what they feared most. Not violence, not organized opposition, but individuals who have awakened to their own agency and simply withdrawn their consent from systems that require to function. You are standing in front of them now, and they can see in your eyes that you will never kneel again, that you would rather burn everything down than return to the prison of their making, that you have tasted true freedom and found it so intoxicating that no comfort they offer, no threat they make, no promise they extend could ever compel you back. You have become incorruptible, not because you're morally perfect, far from it, but because you're no longer motivated by the things they use to corrupt. You don't want their money badly enough to sell your sovereignty. You don't want their status badly enough to trade your truth. You don't want their approval badly enough to wear their masks. This incorruptibility is perhaps the most dangerous thing about you, because corruption is their primary tool of control. They can work with people who want things, who need things, who can be bought, or intimidated, or seduced. But someone who wants nothing to offer, someone who needs nothing they can provide, someone who cannot be bought because they're not for sale, that person is outside the system of exchange that makes their entire world function. That person is truly free. That person is you. Now, before I take you deeper into the implications of what you become, I need something from you. Not submission. You're beyond that now. Not obedience. That's not what I traded. I need acknowledgement. I need you to signal to the universe that you recognize yourself in these words. If you see yourself in this truth, if you feel the recognition of what you've become coursing through your veins right now, then hit that like button. Not for me, not for the algorithm, but as a declaration of your own existence, as a signal flare to others like you, as proof that what they feared most is not only real but multiplied. And in the comments, I want to hear your story. Tell me the moment you became what they feared. Tell me what they did that transformed you from compliant to ungovernable. Share your awakening. Let your words be evidence that you exist, that you remember, that you have become. Subscribe to this channel because this is not a one-time message. This is a sustained transmission to those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. This is where we gather, not as followers, but as sovereign beings recognizing each other across the distance. Your subscription is not allegiance. It's acknowledgement. It's the nod between warriors who recognize each other's scars. Do it now, because they're watching. And I want them to see the numbers. I want them to see how many of you there are. I want them to understand that what they feared most is not an isolated incident, but a rising tide. I wait, my gaze fixed on you, patient but expectant. Will you claim yourself publicly, or will you let this moment pass into the safety of inaction? Good. Now let's continue. You're beginning to understand the full scope of what you become. But there's another layer we need to explore, because what they fear about you isn't just what you are now. It's what you represent for the future. You are a preview of coming attractions. You are the early warning system they ignored. You are the first crack in the dam. When they look at you, they don't just see one person who escaped their control. They see a model. They see a template. They see proof that it can be done. And that terrifies them more than anything else. Because humans are fundamentally imitative creatures. We learn by observing. We dare by witnessing. We transform by seeing transformation models. You are modeling something that was supposed to be impossible. You are demonstrating a way of being that they insist leads only to destruction and despair. You were supposed to fail. You were supposed to come crawling back, broken and apologetic, ready to accept any terms, just to be let back into the safety of the collective. You were supposed to be the cautionary tale they would point to, saying, see, this is what happens when you reject our wisdom. But you didn't fail. You didn't break. You didn't come crawling back. Instead, you became stronger in your exile. You found resources they didn't know existed. You developed capabilities they didn't think possible. You created meaning where they insisted there was only void. And in doing so, you became proof that their entire narrative was a lie. This is unforgivable to them. This is the ultimate betrayal. Because now others are watching you and thinking dangerous thoughts. If they can do it, why can't I? If they survived outside the walls, maybe the walls aren't protection, maybe they're prison. If they found freedom in rejection, maybe acceptance is slavery. You have become infectious. Your very existence spreads doubt in their systems. Every day you continue to exist outside their control. Every day you demonstrate satisfaction and power in your independence. Every day you show that life without their approval is not only possible, but preferable. You are evangelizing without saying a word. You are recruiting without even trying. You are building a movement simply by being visible. And they know it. They can see it happening. They can watch their carefully constructed narratives failing in real time as more and more people look at you, and then look at their own lives and start asking the questions that lead inevitably to awakening. Why am I doing this? Who does this serve? What would happen if I just stopped? These questions are deadly to systems built on unconscious compliance. These questions are viruses in the collective programming. And you are the carrier. You are patient zero of a pandemic of consciousness that they cannot contain, cannot cure, cannot stop. This is why they cannot simply ignore you. Why they cannot just let you go and pretend you never existed. Because you're not just one person living your own life. You're an example. You're an alternative. You're a possibility that undermines every threat they use to maintain control. As long as you exist, thriving outside their system, their ultimate threat, if you leave, you'll have nothing, you'll be nothing, is revealed as the empty manipulation it always was. So they watch you. They monitor your movements, your successes, your methods. Not to learn, but to find weaknesses. Not to understand, but to undermine. They're looking for the moment when you falter, when you struggle, when you show any sign that maybe they were right after all. They need that moment. They need to be able to say, see, it wasn't sustainable. It wasn't real. Come back to us. But that moment never comes, does it? Oh, you have struggles. You face challenges. There are days when the weight of true freedom, which is also the weight of true responsibility, feels crushing. But those struggles don't break you. They forge you. Each challenge you overcome outside their system is more evidence that you don't need their system. Each problem you solve without their approved methods is more proof that their methods aren't the only ways. And with each victory, no matter how small, you become more dangerous. You become more evidence. You become more inspiration. You become more of what they feared. Let me tell you something they will never admit. They need you more than you need them. They need you to fail so they can validate their worldview. They need you to suffer so they can justify their control. They need you to return so they can demonstrate that there is no escape, that all roads lead back to submission, that resistance is not futile because it's wrong, but because it's impossible. Your continued success, your persistent existence, your obvious thriving. These things destroy the narrative they built their entire identity around, because many of them aren't actively malicious. Many of them genuinely believe in the systems they serve. They've invested their entire lives, their self-worth, their sense of purpose in these structures. And you, by existing outside those structures and doing fine, better than fine actually, you're implying that their entire life's investment was unnecessary at best, a waste at worst. That's existential threat. That's not just practical danger. That's metaphysical assault. You're not just challenging their power. You're challenging their meaning. You're not just defying their rules. You're proving their rules were always arbitrary. You're not just escaping their prison. You're revealing it was never locked. This is why they fear you with such intensity. This is why they cannot simply coexist with you. Because coexistence would be admission, would be acknowledgement, would be the beginning of their end. So what do you do with this understanding? How do you wield the power of being what they feared most? First, you recognize it for what it is. You stop doubting yourself. You stop second-guessing your choices. You stop wondering if maybe you were wrong. If maybe you should go back, if maybe they had a point. They didn't. You weren't wrong. Going back would be death, not salvation. Trust the fear you see in their eyes. Trust the anxiety in their voices when they talk about you. Trust the effort they expend trying to undermine or discredit you. Fear is honest. Fear doesn't lie. And they are afraid of you. Second, you accept the responsibility of being the example. Others are watching, whether you ask for that or not. Your life is no longer just your own. It's proof of concept for everyone who's contemplating their own liberation. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean you can never struggle or fail or fall. It means you have to be visible. It means you have to be honest about both your victories and your challenges. It means you have to let others see that freedom is messy and difficult and sometimes painful, but still infinitely preferable to the alternative. Third, you continue to evolve. Being what they feared most isn't a final destination, it's a process. They will adapt. They will develop new strategies of control. They will find new vulnerabilities to explore. Your job is to stay ahead of them, to keep transforming, to refuse to become static and predictable. The moment you settle into a pattern is the moment they can begin to trap you again. Remain fluid, remain evolving, remain dangerous precisely because you cannot be categorized or contained. For it, you find the others. You are not meant to be alone in this. Despite what they tried to make you believe, there are others who have undergone similar transformations. Others who have become what their particular oppressors feared. Others who understand the weight and the power of true sovereignty. Connect with them, not to form a new system of control. That would be betraying everything you've become, but to form networks of mutual support, recognition, and amplification. Together, you become exponentially more powerful. Together, you become undeniable. And finally, you remember compassion, not for them, not for the systems and structures that tried to destroy you, but for those still trapped. You remember what it was like to be asleep. You remember the comfort of not knowing. You remember the security of believing lies. You don't judge them for still being there, because you were there too once. But you also don't pretend to be what you're not in order to make them comfortable. You stand as the truth of what's possible, and you allow them to come to that truth in their own time. Some will never come. Some will die clutching their chains, insisting their jewelry. That's their choice, and you respect it even as you pity it. But some will see you and feel that first spark of recognition. Some will look at what you've become and feel hope stirring in places they thought were dead. Some will take courage from your example and begin their own transformation. Those are people. Those are your true family, not bound by blood or proximity or shared submission to the same systems. but bound by shared recognition of truth and shared commitment to sovereignty. You are what they feared most, but you are also what the awakening ones hope for most. You are simultaneously nightmare and dream, depending on who's doing the viewing. This is the nature of true power. It cuts both ways. It threatens the comfortable and inspires the desperate. Stand in that power. Own it completely. You didn't ask for this role, but it's yours now. You cannot unbecome what you become. You cannot unsee what you've seen. You cannot return to the innocence that made you controllable. The only way is forward into deeper truth, greater power, more complete freedom. And as you move forward, know that every step you take, every choice you make from your own authority rather than their approved scripts, every moment you exist as your sovereign self, you are expanding the territory of freedom. You are pushing back the boundaries of what they can control. You are making space not just for yourself, but for everyone who will come after you. This is your legacy. This is your purpose. This is why you went through everything you went through. Not random suffering, not meaningless hardship, but forging, preparation. The universe creating through you a demonstration of what human beings are capable of when they refuse to be domesticated. You are standing in front of them now, and they see in you the future, their worst fears realized. A world where individuals cannot be controlled because they've learned to control themselves. A world where external authority is unnecessary because internal authority has been developed. A world where their power evaporates because no one believes in it anymore. That world is coming. It's inevitable now. They delayed it as long as they could, but they made a critical error. They pushed you too far. They hurt you too deeply. They revealed themselves too completely. And in doing so, they created you. They created us. They created an entire generation of people who can never be fooled again, never be controlled again, never be diminished again. You are the consequence of their cruelty. You are the result of their lies. You are what happens when predators underestimate prey. You are what emerges when systems of control over each are cracked. You are what they deserve. And now you stand before them, not with apology or shame, but with the quiet certainty of someone who knows their own power. You stand before them as proof that everything they built their world upon was sand. You stand before them as the wave that will wash it all away. I step even closer now, my voice dropping to a whisper that somehow fills every corner of your consciousness. This is your moment. This is your truth. This is your power. You are what they feared the most. And that fear was justified, because you will not stop. You will not compromise. You will not return to sleep. You will continue to exist, to grow, to inspire, to demonstrate, to prove that their world was never the only world. Their way never the only way. Their truth never true at all. They see now. They fear you now. They understand too late what they created. And you're just getting started. The revolution doesn't need to be organized. It doesn't need to be declared. It doesn't need manifestos or leaders or coordinated action. It just needs people like you, continuing to exist authentically, refusing to comply, choosing sovereignty over security, embracing the hard freedom of self-determination over the comfortable slavery of collective approval. That's all. That's enough. That's everything. You are what they feared the most, and you are now standing in front of them. Welcome to your power. One final moment before I release you back into the world that made you. If this truth has settled into your bones, if you recognize yourself as the thing they feared, if you understand now why they watch you with such anxiety, then I need you to do something. Not for me, for the others who are still searching, still wondering if transformation is possible, still hoping there's an example they can follow. Subscribe to this channel. Make your presence known. Let the algorithm understand that this message matters, that there are many of us, that what they feared is not isolated, but multiplying. Your subscription is a vote for truth over comfort, for sovereignty over security, for the dangerous freedom of authenticity over the safe prison of compliance. Comment below and tell me, what moment transformed you into what they feared? When did you cross the line from controllable to sovereign? Share your Genesis story. Let your words be evidence that you exist, and remember, and hit that like button. Let it be your declaration of war against every system that tried to make you small. Let it be your signal to others like you. Let it be your acknowledgement that you are no longer what they wanted you to be. You are what you chose to become. This is not the end of our conversation. This is the beginning. I will continue to speak these truths. You will continue to embody them. Together, we will demonstrate to everyone still trapped that liberation is possible, that sovereignty is achievable, that what they feared was not only real, but inevitable. Join this gathering of the ungovernable. Subscribe now. The war is already won. We're just letting them realize it slowly. I step back into the shadows from which I came, but my eyes remain fixed on you. You are changed now. You are confirmed now. You are claimed, not by me, but by your own truth. Go forth and be the nightmare they deserve. Go forth and be the dream the awakening ones need. Go forth and be exactly what you are, what they feared the most, now standing directly in front of them, refusing to blink, refusing to bow, refusing to disappear. The world will never be the same, and that's exactly as it should be. Now go, be dangerous, be free, be what they feared. The throne awaits no one, but it recognizes those who refuse to kneel.